The glass shattered onto the tough reptilian skin of the creature as it raised its head, staring at the now terrified customers of the unknown and horrifying creature that had broken through the window. It stepped into the cafe, the customers grouping together in the back, as it crept, past the chairs and tables toward something. A man who had fallen down, now sliding back as the creature looked at him for lunch. He shouted for help, but then silence, as the creature lunged, his 4-foot-long alligator jaws clamping around the man's skull and rising him up, nearly hitting him against the ceiling light, now fully shutting. Its jaws as the body dropped down to the ground. Thump! The creature rolled the man's head down into its mouth as if it was a grape, then letting out a shriek, the horrified occupants scared of their turn. A gunshot now rang through the air, and then another followed by another. The shots struck the hide of the creature, one even striking the nearly 10-foot thin but strong tail that now waved in pain as it bled. The creature lunged at the attackers, which in its mind was the 3 cops' cars that were nearly half its size. It lunged into the hood, the engine falling through the car as the large body stood atop. The creature now piercing the roof of the car with its long snout, grabbing a headrest from the seat and ripping it apart. Multiple shots were fired now from the cops that had started to circle the animal, the hide still appearing as if it was a newborn, amazing the now hopeless police force. The creature lunged at another, ripping the torso of the man and sawing him in half with as it shaked the human back and forth. The creature then attacked again and again, making quick work of the depleting force. It now looked up, noticing the spinning blades of a helicopter cover its body, before a loud burst of rifle shots started to come down on the creature. A shot rang through a shoulder muscle of the creature, a yelp piercing even the pilot's ears, the occupants of the coffee shop closing their earways, now noticing the creature looking over to them. They see the people in the cafe. It's charging in, civilians attacked. Repeat, this is a code red. Civilians attacked. Expect those on scene to be deceased. The voice rang through the radio, Angel sighing as he feared this threat would be past what they could handle. A threat he never would have expected to encounter in his working career. Where did this thing come from? He asked openly in his office, which contained me, Officer Greg, and another officer named Daniel. We don't know, sir. None of the labs can identify the creature, and no one will say where exactly it came from. There's a rumor going around this creature came from Russia, but there's no real merit to that claim. The only thing we know is that it likes to kill. It's already claimed 26 victims, 14 of them being our police force. And with each creature, it seems to grow, nearly a foot from the span of the last 8 hours based on photos. Daniel went, Angel shaking his head. So the devil placed this creature here and expect us to know how to deal with it? It looks that way, sir. Not one thing in our planet seems to be a distant cousin of this thing. Its snout is the length of a baseball bat. Its body seems to be the body of a lizard with scales that no normal gun can pierce through. And its 15-foot-long tail has been seen to be whipped around and snap the bones of everything and anything it collides with. Daniel said, nearly out of breath as he described this Frankenstein creature. Hell has landed in Livingston, Angel exclaimed. I looked over at him stating, I need to leave for a few hours to check something. My deep intent in my voice signaling to him I wasn't going to be persuaded any other way. Just if I call you, I need you. Understood. I heard military is being sent anyway, so this works out. He told me, watching as I left the office. I arrived at my house 10 minutes later, seeing the area surrounded by black SUVs, the same SUVs that held government personnel and surrounded me and my friends in the woods a few weeks back. I walked out of the car and headed toward my house, then being stopped by a guard. Who are you, and what are you doing here? He interrogated me, my palms sweating as my face must have gotten as red as a tomato as I looked at him. No response being given to him. He repeated his question, this time in a more demanding and forward-like tone. I'm Dan. I have a friend who lives around here and I'm trying to find his home. I finally muttered to him, Well, you need to leave here. This is an active crime situation and we can't have anyone interfere. I nodded, backing to my car and leaving my home, panic setting in for what could have happened to Will. I stared at my phone once in the car. My heartbeat raced in its own skeleton cage as I felt it bang against its imprisoned walls. What do I do? What do I do? I said to myself, panicking as my life around me shattered like a pot slowly falling down from a cabinet. I opened my phone, calling the only person I know that would have a clue on what to do. The phone rang for another minute before the line beeped indicating someone had picked up. Dip! It's me, Dip! I need your help. I think a creature is attacking Livingston. A creature from where Alos and Will came from. I don't know what to do. I was given a reply of silence on the other line, maybe hearing the slight exhale of a human on the other line, or maybe hearing my own echo as I breathed in and out at an attempt to calm myself down. Anyway, the line remained open for another 30 seconds, before a second click and the slight buzzing of the line going dead. I slumped my head down, now ringing the next person who would know what's going on. The first rang went by, but the second never appeared as he said on the other line, Nick, where the hell are you at? I just swung by the home. We have a shit ton of military personnel and they don't seem to be searching for the monster in Livingston at the moment. Did you leave before they could come? Yes, he responded. Alos came and found me. We were attacked by something from the dimension or space. He was looking for something, I think part of the asteroid we took. Okay, but you guys are safe. Where are you? I asked him hastily. The start of the Woodpine Trail. It's secluded, so no one should come here. He stated back, myself responding by putting the car in drive and moving down the street toward his location, ending the call with, I'll be there in 10. As I pulled out the parking lot, I could feel myself being watched. Mostly the military officers making sure I left the scene, but also something else. A creature not from this world, whose blue tentacles started to rise from the top of his head as his reptilian circular eyes stared at my car as it drove by. I arrived to the heavily dense woods nearly 15 minutes later, making note that Will was correct, that there was no one else in sight. I parked my car next to his, kicking up some gravel in the parking lot as I ran toward Will, hugging him tight, which could have easily been mistaken for me attacking him. I looked over at Alos, his white pearl eyes staring at me uniquely, a thin black smile line on his face. Good to see you, Nick. Where's Dip at? He went to me. I don't know. He has been missing for 5 days now. People are starting to think the worst has happened. I replied to him, If it's the worst thing, then it won't be the first time Dip has evaded it. Alos went, then hearing us scuffle off at the start of the tree line. I looked up, definitely noticing the leaves that were still shaking quietly, a contrast from the others. Who are you? Alos exclaimed out to the unknown presence. You know who I am? We met a few hours ago. A voice went to the group, myself trying to pinpoint where in the trees it came from. I then took a glance over at Will and Alos, both with their fists up ready for a fight. A small dust cloud appearing in Will's open fist. Will, what is that? I asked, then watching as he pushed his arm out, the dust cloud escaping the gravity of his body and striking a tree, the 50-foot-high branches up top swaying from the attack. Come out, you freak, Alos said to what Will had attacked. You have to be nice. If you kill me, I don't think anyone here survives the next week. The voice went. What do you mean by that? Will said, another small dust cloud slowly gaining size in his hand. The creature on the loose. That thing will kill me quick if I try to stop it alone. Then you two will attack it without a clue of what it is and die. And that leaves this entire planet screwed since even your strongest bombs won't kill it. The voice said again. Explain yourself. Will went. The woods went silent. Then the explainer walked out the woods in front of us three. An alien, or a distant cousin of Alos. Standing at around 4 feet tall, a dark shade of blue, human-like skin, with a flat face with tentacles moving in the back of his head, like the movement of a squid lifeless in the water. My name's Perry, by the way, and let's put the house thing behind us to begin. You get it? Someone has something. You kill them to get it. Everyone has done it. Perry said to us. You tried killing them. I exclaimed out to him, myself drawing my holstered pistol and pointing it at Perry, himself holding his own shiny silver pistol at me. My tentacles can feel your conscious waves. I know when you will pull that trigger before you even touch the trigger, giving me enough time to blow that brain of your head to end all those thoughts. I paused for a second, realizing this could be an uphill battle with how both ways turn out. Good idea. Perry then said, a moment later myself putting my gun back in the holster, speaking, so this creature came from space. I'm assuming you found an asteroid and a green egg. That's where this creature came from. Now all of us 4 need to go kill it. Else this thing eats and eats, then reproduces with itself. Don't want to see it or ask questions, just trust me. Lays more eggs, which hatches. Those babies eat and reproduce. The cycle continues until no food is left on the planet. Then it's cannibalize, reproduce with itself. Wait for babies to hatch, and babies cannibalize pops or moms, whatever you want to pick. That makes sense to everyone? The radio crackled in, possibly from how distant the closest radio tower was. Or maybe the fact that his device wasn't as good at intercepting encrypted military waves as it was 10 years ago. Anyway, he zoned in on what he could hear, a voice coming from what he had gathered to be General Cope to the military personnel deployed in Livingston. He still couldn't figure out what they were hunting, as it went from a small alien-like creature to a much larger one. His mind drifted on what it could be in the silence, but with barely any description giving, he couldn't pinpoint a single creature that it could be. We have 2 suspects that we need to capture. The general then went. Nick and Will Gibbs are suspects and should be considered dangerous. I want them to be brought to California alive for questioning, any means necessary. There's a whole space program that tried and failed to kill these things? Will said out loud, then cuffing his hands up into his face and turned away from Perry. Well, yeah, but it's the government. You know how they handle stuff slow and inefficient, then make the little guy pay for it. Perry said, trying to get the group in on the idea that we remotely had a chance of killing this thing. There's reports that it took bullets. Like many bullets, even a rifle shot in the back that didn't stop it. What makes you think us as a group can do anything about it? I asked him. Well, your brother Will has powers, and so that gives a bit of a leg up on our competition. But to be fair, we are kind of in an uphill battle. Would be better if this planet could invent something greater than a metal firing shell. We have a greater chance than we realize. Alos then spoke up, the only words I had heard him say other than the greeting when I first arrived. Will, you demonstrated how much strength you have. From opening the portal to shooting an orb of energy from your palm, you are much more. You align with the tale. He went on, Will responding, What tale? A legend I thought when the Indians first told me about it. About an older figure, not part Indian, but an ally, who could move between the worlds. Itself held much power as well, fueled by the glue that held the 2 worlds separate but together. I now believe you are that figure, with the power of the rift between these 2 worlds that you can use to defeat this thing. Alos finished, staring at Will, who looked at him, and then laughed. Laughed like he had just been pranked. Laughed like he had just seen someone sit on a whoopee cushion. Alos bowed down his head, maybe having second thoughts instantly on what he just said. Well, whether he believes it or not, we don't have time to wait and find out, we need to find it. I say lure it out here, away from any interference from human friends, and kill this thing here. Even with Will not being this amazing figure, me and Alos should be able to kill it. Perry then said, walking over to my car and getting in the passenger side. "Human drive," he barked at me before closing the door. The creature was now in the backyard when we found it, past the wrecked police cars that had now stopped it. We saw it grazing in the backyard, slurping water from a swimming pool as we approached. It looked over at us, Perry now rolling down the window and lifting himself up like Alan Grant looking at a dinosaur. He then pulled out his pistol, firing a shot into the creature, the jolt sending him back 5 feet rolling. He ducked down in the car. "He should chase us." I looked at the creature as it got back on its feet, now just as Perry had said, raced toward the car. I hit the gas, swerving down the block and back toward the woods, the creature following the entire way. We were now back in the woods, the creature about 100 yards behind, closing in fast. We stopped the car, stepping out and running away, now watching as the creature rammed into the vehicle, sending it into a group of trees. Perry then shot at its side, the creature squirming to the reaction, now staring at Perry, rushing toward him and turning around, his whip-like tail making a streak across Perry. Me, Alos, and Will backed up, Will focusing on creating some type of weapon to defend himself while I aimed my gun, striking the creature in the head with my pistol. This time, the creature let out a moan and ran into the woods. We moved to the center of the patch, watching movement coming from the tree line. It wasn't long till the creature showed itself again, this time rushing at Alos, who aimed his own gun Perry had given him, striking it straight on before its extended jaw swung like a bat, causing him to fall down. I then watched as the creature jumped on its hind legs. Its jaws opened wide, ready to swallow Alos as it came down. A quicker reaction of Alos pulling the trigger, shooting a bullet through its mouth. The creature stumbled, back then looking at me, rising its clawed paw and striking down. 3 long streaks caused by the steak knife razor-sharp claw. I screamed in pain as I rolled away. Alos and Will now stood together, with Alos looking over at Will. "Remember what you were built for." Alos then moved to the side, pulling the trigger and adding more and more shot marks into the creature's hide, some blood starting to slowly seep out the wounds. The creature attacked again at Alos, this time a successful hit with the tail knocking him back. While distracted, Will went over to me, asking out of breath, "Are you okay?" I looked up, seeing Alos be pinned by the creature, himself believing his fate had been sealed, which I thought all of ours had been. "Be who you are supposed to be." I said to Will, maybe a last-ditch movie-like effort to motivate him. I then watched the creature go in for the final shot against Alos, but a red streak zipping past the field and striking the creature on its neck changed that. I looked for the source. Perry bleeding but standing as his pistol was held up. The creature made eye contact with him, now rushing Perry, avoiding 2 of the 3 shots Perry shot, not even stopping for the headshot that had hit him. The creature now jumped 10 feet away from Perry, its jaws opened wide. Now something appeared in front of Perry, a bunch of particles appearing almost out of nowhere, but it wasn't. I looked to my side. Will's hand opened wide, generating the force to create a portal, large enough for the creature to jump into, its body being fully encapsulated. Will then closed it, falling to the ground and holding his previously opened hand. The spinning helicopter blades then came on overhead. A couple engines of heavy-duty cars also came into listening range a few seconds later. "Someone's coming?" Will said, scared. "Military," I said, regrouping with Alos and Perry, who were struggling but could stand on their own feet. "I know a place we can lay low," Alos said, now going into the woods. We followed him through twists and turns for what seemed like an hour before he eventually stopped. I looked around, not seeing anything besides more trees, which I had become accustomed to while on the walk. Alos then made his way over to some rocks, and after a second standing, disappeared among them. I walked over, seeing the cause. A hole about 2 feet wide in diameter, enough for me, Will, and Perry to follow him. We dropped down into a rectangular metal box, the inside reminding me of the shell of a shipping container. I then looked across, seeing Alos, and then another figure behind him. "Dip," I said with a gasp, now walking over to him. He stood beside a radio attached to the wall. The current communications were the Livingston dispatcher repeating a command to send more and more troops out to our general area. "We all need to get out of here. Our men are being sent here along with military. They know the area, and the military have the weapons to kill us all." Dip said to the group. "But what's the plan?" I asked him, looking around at the bare walls of the shelter with only a radio, a duffel bag, and a piece of paper with phone numbers. One I recognized being Dip's being hung on the wall. "I can help with that." "I don't know. I have
Harry
money."
then said out loud,
"260,000
that
focusing from Dip to him.
But we need to leave here. Jump states."
"How's that?" I asked him. "I could take you all home with me. You wouldn't be able to come back to this planet, but that would mean no one's after you." I shook my head. "We can't do that. This is my home. This is Will's home. Dip has spent 45 years on this planet," I argued. "It's an option. Plus, I wouldn't want to stay on this planet long anyway." Perry smirked. "No, it's not." Alos then went. "Will needs to stay here, monitor the situation of the two different worlds. Nick and Dip need to stay with him, make sure he's safe." He continued. "And what about you, Alos?" Will asked the being. "This isn't my home, and I can't return to my original, which means I need to go find my own new home. I will stay with Perry, if that's okay." He finished looking over at Perry, who nodded in agreement. Then it's settled. Me, Nick, and Will find a new home across the country. Alos and Perry leave, and we go back to doing normal human things, making no magic portals open. We moved out of the underground fortress, making sure no one was around before running down a trail behind Perry. Perry led us for 2 hours through deep forest, finally coming upon his ship in the middle of nowhere. We boarded, myself in the back, magnetified by the superior technology on board, the dials and switches lining the wall with labels in an unknown alien language not giving me a clue of what was going on. We then started to take off, the aircraft hovering above the ground and slowly rising as if I was rising from the bottom of a pool, reaching for a new gasp of fresh air at the surface. We then took off, the force pushing me against the seat. We finally descended an hour later, Perry landing the ship in the location Dip had consoled Perry with. At this time, it was nearly 3 a.m., an open wasteland of what seemed to be corn crops stretching out for miles and miles. "Will, wait a second," Alos said as the door of the spacecraft opened, me and Dip both walking out into the summer dry air. "If you need me, you can reach out, much like you did when you talked to me in the other dimension. It's a feeling inside of you." Alos spoke to Will, a small tear rolling down his face, wondering if he was ever going to see him again. "You will." Alos spoke to him, nearly reading his mind. Alos then turned around back into the ship, leaving Will with no choice than come to us outside. The ship then rose, taking off and disappearing among the stars. Dip then walked through the field, myself and Will following as he went into an old barn in the middle of the field. We laid upon straw that sat against the wall, Dip hanging the duffel bag of money onto a post and reaching into one of the pockets, pulling out a small radio. He extended the antenna on the device, then turning it on, myself hearing static but hearing a voice saying, "Report update. 2 bodies, those of Nick and Will Gibbs, were found deep in the woods, assumingly attacking the unidentified creature which had attacked Livingston. Military was able to neutralize on sight." I said back in the straw. "I'm dead," I muttered to myself. "At least they gave you an honorable death. My death is going to be a suicide, one where I drowned myself in the ocean." Dip sad, trying to comfort me. "What will we do now?" I asked Dip. Dip said solemnly, "Create new lives for ourselves. Start over.